Uncuckables.
Hello, everyone.
The Uncuckables.
Oh, take two, everyone. Hello, and welcome to another week of the Uncuckables. That was one of the entropy streams, which was not silenced, which means for this week we are on entropy. If you're watching us on YouTube Live, I've put the link there in the chat, and we are also streaming to our DLive channel as well. It is 7 minutes past 9 p.m. Melbourne time on this Thursday, the 16th of January. Of course, I'm Tim Wilms, Editor and Chief of The Unshackled, and we've got here, he's a week late, David Hiscox, Editor of the XYZ.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me, Tim, and thanks for all the kind comments in the chat. It's nice to know people like to listen to me waffle on.
They can't see. You got to hold it up.
The what?
You just played with your.
Oh no, I'm going to start on the Nazi Coke soon. Yeah.
And we've also got joining us from Brisbane, Ben Shand, the Dusty Bogan, who's been on a bit of a vacay as well, who's just come off Thirsty Thursday.
Yeah, thanks for having me, boys. I'm on my gin and soda water with a bit of dusty blue. Delicious.
Looks beautiful.
How much strength is that?
It's only 30%. It's my own homebrew.
Homebrew.
Yeah, homebrew gin. It's good shit.
Takes talent.
Yeah, mate. Gin and soda water. Get into it, boys. You know?
Now, I know a lot of people had trouble going on to entropy last week, but it's definitely up and working. So, of course, on entropy, you can ask us a question, send through a super chat, and we can also do a poll if we can think of one. And I mentioned, or DLive's got a bit of a boost this week because Nick Fuentes has had a strike against his YouTube channel and has been kicked off the YouTube partner program. So he's been streaming to DLive all this week, receiving lemons, which are the currency on DLive.
So do we have more people? Do we have more people listening to us on DLive now?
DLive?
Yeah. What's that like?
I'll just put a message there to let us know.
Who's been kicked off? I was reading the comments section.
America First, Nicholas J. Fuentes, the leader of the Groyper army.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So he's banned from live streaming to YouTube for a week. And obviously he can't receive super chats anymore through YouTube, so he might use entropy. It was basically it got its big break, entropy, when Mark Collett started using it when he was kicked off entropy.
Also, so people know, I'll be away next week as well. But after that, I'm on Uncuckables.
Dave is going to be another week late next week.
Yeah, that's it.
So he'll be on in another 2 weeks by that math.
Yeah.
Now, the week started with a tragic event with the death of young conservative activist Wilson Gavin on Monday morning. The day before, he'd led a protest by the Liberal National Party University of Queensland Club, which is not affiliated with the Liberal National Party of Queensland. Wilson himself was expelled from the party in December, and the student club was disaffiliated. So they led a protest outside a drag storytime event in a library in the city of Brisbane, which was part funded by, it's a council one, so it's funded, and it was who was it co-hosted with? Let me just get the name of this right here. Rainbow Families Queensland.
Yeah, and organised by a Marxist, I saw.
Well, Lucas Roses, he was able to uncover, because he had known about this, the Marxist organizer of this before. Or get the name here. Yes, the president of the LGBTI legal service was Matilda Alexander.
Yeah, I think he's mentioned him. He's mentioned her on the XYZ as well.
Yes.
Yeah, she pops up from time to time. She was the one, I think, yeah, she was getting quite a lot of money from the government just to do...
Dusty, we're getting a lot of interference from your end. Are you able to sort of fix that up?
You reckon it's my fan blowing?
Yes.
Maybe? Right, I'll just turn it off.
I'm not I'm complaining about it. I'm not sure if people in the chat are complaining about it, but it's annoying me.
Oh, sweet. Thanks for telling me.
Yeah, there was they've been getting hundreds of thousands of dollars, that legal service.
Yes, from the government, of course, City of Brisbane. And City of Brisbane has a Liberal National mayor. It's been under the control of the then Liberal Party, then Liberal National Party for the 2010s. Campbell Newman, before he was Premier, he was Lord Mayor of Brisbane. So it was funded by a Conservative-controlled council.
Yeah. I.e., the Libnats, they're liberals. They're not conservatives. They're not traditionalists. They're not nationalists. They're not patriots. They're liberals. Yeah. So like, I'm glad that Lucas pointed out that this was organized by Marxists, because when did drag queen story time become a normal thing? Like, they're obviously going out of their way to push their agenda. And to organize this for children, they're obviously going out of their way to push their agenda on children.
When did this idea, has anyone pinpointed whose idea it was, or where this idea came from, that drag queens who they're not adult entertainers in terms that they make sexualized jokes, that they normally perform at clubs which for over 18s, and their whole persona is they're very flamboyant, make all these double entendre references. Clearly they're jokes meant for mature age people. They're not meant to corrupt young minds. With
the jokes, you'll often find that performers who perform for children will put in little jokes for the adults, and those jokes will go over the kids' heads. But they're putting themselves in front of children very deliberately. And that's
the point is that this is the history of drag queens.
Yeah, absolutely. It is turned up another notch. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so where did this idea come from? That, hey, let's get them to read to children what have been.
Well, I've only become aware of it since fake marriage was legalized.
It's
yeah, and that's the point here, isn't it? It's like we were all saying before fake marriage was legalized. Look, you legalize fake marriage, they're going to push another boundary. This isn't going to be the final victory for gay people. They're not going to all just go home and go, yay, we won, we're happy now, we don't need anything more. They're always going to push another boundary.
That's the left-wing little, that's the little voting block. So they got the gay marriage. What did they think the gay is going to be like? We got gay marriage. Now we can look to other parties. We can look at economic issues. They could look elsewhere. They could be like, oh, we've got that thing. They could move on. But no, that's not the way it works. Left-wing, once you let one thing in, the left is going to keep offering them more and more and more, because they don't want to lose their little voting blocks. You know what I mean? They win elections by identity politics. And once you get anything is just the thin end of the wedge for the left. Because they don't want to lose their fucking, it's like abortion, whatever. They hammer the fucking abortion. This is not the end. It will never be the end, because they don't want to lose their voting block. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's always just the beginning.
They never stop. Yeah. So that's why this was an important protest.
And the other further extreme they've pushed the LGBT activists is the non-binary trans, that if you call a bearded man who identifies as a woman, if you continue to call him a bearded man, that's misgendering, dead naming, and you can lose your job and be pulled up for hate speech.
Yeah, I intend to dead name as long as I possibly can. Yeah.
You could be a woman, Dave.
But I'm not.
But you could identify as one.
but that would be stupid. That's the thing. So yeah, this protest by these guys, it was a good protest.
And they didn't interrupt the event itself. This was after it had finished, and they were just saying drag queens are not for kids.
Okay.
There's been countless protests against drag story time in the United States, where some have interrupted the actual story time itself, but they wait until the event was over. But the story was that they scare young children with their aggressive protests, which basically means that they're using those young children as human shields. That you're saying you can't protest drag story time because children are there.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they're doing. That's what they did all through the fake marriage debate as well. They said, look, you can't debate about this because if you do, teenage gay people will kill themselves.
Well,
they always go, please won't somebody think of the children? Unless it's with abortion, in which case they're like, please won't somebody kill the children?
Yeah, that's what they're warning about during the marriage survey. And Wilson Gavin, he was a gay man who was opposed to same-sex marriage. So they were saying it was the conservatives who were going to make gay people kill themselves. But in fact, well, as we've seen now, it's the bullying and harassment and trolling and abuse that Wilson got online following that, which saw him the next day get hit by a train.
And now we're at the heart of the matter. They reserve, it seems, their biggest hatred for people who are supposed to think like them but go off the plantation. That's the first. There are a whole lot of observations with this, but that's an amazing one.
Wilson was a Brisbanean, Dusty, like yourself. Had you ever met him or heard of him?
I've heard of him, but I've never bumped into him or had a chat at all. So, bit of a shame. I think was it the Sunday that it happened? And I think it was the Sunday that they actually went to the library and did the thing, and it obviously blew up pretty quick. And a few of the Proud Boys are like, we should reach out to this guy, you know what I mean? And I was busy. I don't know what the fuck I was doing. I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll get hold of him during the week. And, I kind of feel like, fuck, man, imagine if I messaged the guy and I was like, bro, how are ya? It's blowing up. All good. You got friends, you know?
That is one of
we could have had a fucking laugh about it, and maybe he could have not. Obviously, I would have just said, brother, turn your fucking phone off.
Yeah, well,
I'll have a fucking beer. Like, who gives a shit? It's not the end of the world. I remember when Dia bloody did the stupid thing and went to the church with Neil, and she was all upset, and she
and they got her fired.
They got her fired. And I remember when she was all upset, and I was like, oh yeah, no, all good. Who gives a fuck what these people think? And I was like, geez, maybe I should have reached out to this guy, because fuck, you don't know how people think, and some people don't have the thick skin or whatever. It goes into the heart, and they fucking.
I made the same observation. I saw something on Sunday, and I was busy on Sunday, and then the next day I see, whoa, the guy's killed himself. That happened so quickly. It's like when one of the first instances of these Twitter mobs, like this phenomenon, was when there was that scientist who made the joke about female scientists. He made the joke about how men and women shouldn't work in a lab because the women always cry and fall in love with you, and then he went on a flight, I think from Korea or Japan back to Europe. By the time he landed, he'd lost his job. So that's how quickly these mobs move.
Jeez.
But yeah, with this guy's case, it's like everybody who gets into doing what we do should understand what we're in for, and there should be like a common understanding. Okay, when this sort of stuff happens, Twitter doesn't matter, you know. Online, it doesn't matter.
Well, Wilson, he'd be as I mentioned, he was a campaigner against same-sex marriage during the postal survey.
So he would have known what it was like.
Yeah,
already.
he made a speech, I think, outside UQ about why he was opposing it. That's really noisy, Dusty.
Sorry, I'm making a drink. You have to put up with it. Thursday, mate.
It sounds like a James Bond movie. It's fine.
Apparently, one of the James Bond producers, just as a slight segue, has got into trouble for saying that James Bond can be a different color but can't be a woman.
Yeah, okay.
But going back to this, so yes,
so
Wilson
much
made a speech in public, and I remember that I think it was on the Bolt Report. They put together a package of that when he was speaking, and all the socialists around the campus were all laughing, mocking him. This is the compassionate ones, and he also did an interview with Dave Pello for his Pello Talk show, where he talked about basically how it'd been tougher to come out as a conservative than gay, that he'd never had a problem during his teenage years.
I have heard of this guy. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And during 2018, he appeared in the media as a spokesman for the Australian Monarchist League, and he appeared on Sky News with Satyajit Mara, who, while he was in Australia, was part of the Monarchist League. And so I reached out to Wilson after that, because I'm a Republican myself, even though I thought at the time it was a lost cause, but given the royal family seems to be imploding, it's not such a lost cause after all. So I messaged him saying, hey, it'd be good if we did a monarchy versus republic episode. And so yeah, we did that. That was about the middle of 2018. I found him to be quite an accomplished speaker. All his arguments and positions were well reasoned, and I certainly thought he had a bright future ahead of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he only reappeared on my radar earlier this year because there was a lot of people in the Liberal Party who did not like the direction of the Liberal National UQ club, because on Facebook they were promoting National Socialist economic policies such as the nationalisation of the banks and other forms of big government policies. And I think this is part of the reason why they were cut loose from the LNP.
It seems that there have been a few branches then where, you know, like actual nationalists and conservatives and traditionalists are trying to take back their party, because the Liberal Party and the Labor Party, they're basically just two sides of the same globalist coin. They're, as I said before, they're liberals, they're not conservatives. So they all they care about is money. At some point, conservatism, fake conservatism, became placing money above the family and the nation. And
is it just like they're just fiscal conservatives? They believe in capitalism.
Yeah.
That's it. Like
but nothing
up
else.
All moral.
Yeah. Because we saw like that line from that Gideon guy who was
Gideon Rosner from the Institute of Public Affairs. He did about a 20 tweet thread about why this club was a thorn in the party's side. I think this was done on the Monday morning, just like
before
the news broke.
Yep. He was making the case that basically, as long as you get government out of the way, everything will sort itself out. So that's where liberals and fake conservatives have fallen down. Like they've. it's like they've taken one aspect of something that's important and placed that above everything else. God, your nation, family, they're all important. God's the most important. But the free market that we've been able to have in our civilization is simply a byproduct of the rest of those things coming together. And that's the problem with these liberals at the moment. They're quite happy just to let everything else go, and they think they'll be able to keep their free market. They won't.
Well, Robert Menzies, he did run in the 1949 election. This was when the Liberal Party won government for the first time against Labor's policy of nationalising the banks. So what they posted there was in direct contradiction to what their party founder, Robert Menzies, stood for. And they also claimed that they were sons of Joe Bjelke-Petersen, Premier of Queensland for 20 years. But he was a radical free marketist. I mean, the Gold Coast wouldn't have had the development that he did if Joe didn't drastically roll back the planning and construction restrictions.
Yeah, you're making good points. The point I'm making is that the parties at the moment, they don't represent reality. Like right and left, it's that's the thing of the past. What matters now is nationalism and globalism. And you'll find the parties will start to reflect that over the next few years. Like we've seen it with Donald Trump. Donald Trump basically went into the Republican Party and made it a nationalist party
he got them to reverse their policies on free trade.
And then Boris Johnson, you can argue that something similar has happened there. Like he's basically taken over the Conservative Party, and it's become about nationalism versus globalism. Like that's why you have like all these seats in the north who used to vote Labor voting for conservatism. Basically, the old paradigm that we used to think in terms of, that's going. And so what we're seeing here in Australia is something similar, because there've been a few goes at sort of trying to retake the branches. Like there was the like if I think of just a few little examples, like there was the motion at a Liberal Party conference to privatise the ABC, and that was like a
I think that was Victoria.
And then there was that I think it was the Nationals. There was an attempt to turn a branch of the Nationals to be actually nationalist.
New South Wales Young Nationals, members of the Lads Society.
See what I do here? You always have the specifics. I always have the general.
And of course, that's when was it Alex Mann? That's when he got his big break by exposing these Nazis.
On background briefing. And so then this is just another case. So what we're going to see more cases of like genuine conservatives and nationalists actually trying to retake the party, and either they will or the Liberal Party will just die.
Well, the only right wing Western party that has had a National Socialist bent is, well, the party from your nation, Dusty, New Zealand, their national party. Sir Robert Muldoon, he was the National Party Prime Minister of New Zealand from 1975 to 84, and he basically for that time tried to freeze the nation in time and keep it as a national socialist and, well, as you'd call it, well, New Zealand is not a white ethno-state, it's a white and, it was a white and Maori ethno-state. He basically wanted to keep New Zealand as basically a fortress.
Yes.
And he basically
and
froze.
Now everyone's trying to get the fuck out of there.
He successfully froze the country for 9 years until the Labor Party won in 84, and Finance Minister Sir Roger Douglas deregulated and privatised the economy. And then in the 90s, the National Party Finance Minister Ruth Richardson, she deregulated the labour market and cut welfare. So that was New Zealand's. There was 9 years of national socialism frozen in time by Robert Muldoon, and then 9 years of free market revolution.
Yeah. Okay.
So that is the only
by
time, the most
like
recent
here in
actual
Australia.
national socialist right-wing leader.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think have we ever seen hard times in Australia, not in our generation, have we? So no one's like shaken up. Like maybe the Americans, like they brought in Trump and all this, or Bojo. I don't know the UK, but I just think that we've never had as long as everyone's got a fucking job and paying the bills. I think most of Australians are just like, she'll be right, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. That's a really important thing.
We haven't had a recession for 29 years.
Yeah, and
we could get one this year.
Yes, and we didn't have to fight for our independence.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But going back to Wilson Gavin's death, just explain basically how he'd been in this political battle for a number of months, and this protest was well publicized in advance. And so, when it actually happened that night, when the footage went viral on social media, what does viral mean anymore? There was, Trevor Evans, the Liberal National member for Brisbane, called them rat bags. I think one of the local Brisbane city councillors says these are not LNP, so his own side was disavowing him.
Yeah.
And obviously, there were the social media lynch mob, calling them Hitler Youth, bigots, or they were frightening children, all the usual things. Basically, dehumanizing. This is what they do.
Yes.
They dehumanize their enemies, and all of this bullying, harassment, abuse, and trolling. What happened to Wilson? This is basically their ultimate goal is that they want you to kill yourself. And after Wilson had died, there were, even though you'd say the more prominent leftists on social media said it was a tragedy, there were comments underneath saying, "I'm glad he's dead. Nobody has to suffer in future because of him."
Yeah. That's it. They want us dead, and they want us to do it ourselves because they're too cowardly to do it themselves. Yeah.
Let's have a look at...
hang on. This is a public library, and we're all taxpayers. You know what I mean? So
we have
the right to fucking chip in our 2 cents or go to the fucking
Brisbane
library and be
ratepayers.
like, nah, mate. I wonder if he invited me. You know what I mean? If he said, "Hey, Dusty, we're going to do this thing," I would have been there with me fucking blue hat right next to the bloke. I'd be like, sounds like a real good shit stir. Sounds like some good fun. Do you know what I mean? Maybe the next one I'm going to. And I would have been like, "I'm famous." That's what my reaction would have been. Like, this is all madness. But, this is what I think. Do our taxes pay for these libraries?
Well, it's ratepayers. City of Brisbane ratepayers.
Z. And
I think we've just
We've
got
lost
an intermission here.
Yeah.
We're back now.
Oh.
We've lost Dusty, though.
Yeah, we've lost Dusty in the ether. Farewell.
We'll go through
Dusty.
while we're trying to get Dusty back on. We'll just go to the final bit of your article, Dave.
Oh, my one?
Yeah. Let's get this very clear. Oh, you read it. It's your words.
Yeah, sure. Oh, hang on. We're getting Dusty back. We're getting Dusty back.
We got you back there, Dusty? Oh, you go ahead and read your...
Okay, so...
Says, are we still on? Oh, yeah, you just read it.
Okay, so this is what I wrote. Let's get this very clear. The mainstream media and social justice warriors are responsible for Wilson Gavin's suspected suicide. They are currently shedding crocodile tears. But the fact is that this is what they want. They want us all dead. It is vital that we dehumanize our Marxist opponents to the same level that they do dehumanize us. there is never going to be, this is the important bit here. There's never going to be some magical coming back together of Australians from all walks of life where we heal the wounds of the culture war and learn to listen to each other again. This isn't something that can be solved democratically. These things that we're up against, I deliberately call them things rather than people. They're monsters. So we've got to switch off our empathy and treat them as monsters. So, basically, using the tactics of the left does not make you the left. It simply means that you use tactics that win, because the left have been winning for the last 100 years. And that's how we do it. We fight as bitterly and as fanatically as they do, and we'll win.
We
got Dusty.
Your camera's all wonky now.
I'm back.
Welcome back. We're just going through Dave's article here. And,
oh, shit. Hang on.
I just want to go back up to Sally Rugg's tweet, which she is the director of Change.org Australia, even though she's a former Get Up campaigns director during the marriage law postal survey. And she runs Change.org, which deleted 2 petitions to deregister the Greens Party in Australia, but didn't delete petitions which called for the Queen or Governor General to sack Scott Morrison, even though that is just as great a constitutional violation. And they also didn't delete a petition which called on people to sue the government for the bushfires because of their inaction on climate change.
The Change.org's left-wing bias is well documented. This was an extraordinary tweet from her.
So she said Wilson Gavin was gay. I don't know why he campaigned against same-sex marriage. Could it be something to do with you? I don't know why he was so angry at a drag queen. He wasn't angry at a drag queen. He was angry that a drag queen, which historically has been a adult entertainer, is now reading to young children. I don't know why he took his life. You probably do. But I wish he was still here so he could have found us all. We would love him and forgive him, and we do love and forgive him. And this is what Cauldron Pool wrote in reply. Young man commits suicide of national piling on for wrongthink. Sally Rugg, we forgive you. And this was the whole thing. The LGBT activist said that, even though he was a rogue in our community, he was still part of our community. No, he wasn't.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like they reserve their most bitter hatred for those who go off the plantation.
And they claim, without even knowing him, that he must have had self-hate. He must have been a troubled soul, and his death is why we need safe schools to help gays like Gavin accept themselves for who they are. Yeah.
So they're not letting their own culpability get in the way of continuing to push their narrative. It's amazing. Yeah.
What happened to gay people? I thought they were going to get married. I thought they were going to become domesticated, move in the suburbs, get a family sedan and a white picket fence. You know what I mean?
Yes.
What happened to that?
Yeah, they didn't stop, huh? Yeah, they just didn't stop. They were like, okay, on with the next one. We want your kids.
Australian marriage equality is now Equality Australia. So they didn't disband after same-sex marriage was passed. They're now called Equality Australia.
Yeah, they did a quick name shift and said, right, we're going to keep pushing so-called equality.
Marriage Alliance, that was the traditional marriage group founded by Sophie York, they disbanded and are now Binary Australia, led by Kirralie Smith.
Which indicates that they understand that the left just moved on to the next battlefield.
Well, and they also conceded that they'd lost the marriage issue forever. And so binary, as the name suggests, well, we're just going to make sure that, as science has always told us, that there are 2 genders. That's why it's called binary.
But that's why they're going to lose this one too, and that's why I wrote what I wrote. got to stop treating these people like they're reasonable human beings.
No.
Yeah.
No, you can never reason, like, as I said, like, their ultimate goal is to either make you disheveled, crying in a hole, jobless and penniless, or kill yourself. And I'm not sure about you, but I've gotten inboxes saying, "Oh, you should kill yourself. Here's they sent me a picture of a noose saying, "Oh, here's the noose to hang yourself."
Yeah. We.
yeah.
I wish we got your kind of hate mail. We do get a little bit, not quite as much.
I don't get too much.
Yeah.
I get it from time to time.
Okay, yeah,
I did just get one.
What I was saying before, though,
Yeah.
I want the XYZ and the Unshackled to get the Twitter rage mobs. But I find it very suspicious that we don't. It's because they understand that A, we're going to fight back, and B, if they do that, then our profile explodes. So again, this is why they pick on individuals. They pick a target, they isolate them. It's all very Alinsky-ish.
It's like the Guardian probably only will write one article about Dusty, and that's it.
Yeah.
'Cause I was like, yes,
Yeah,
I'm famous.
That's it. That's it.
Fucking oath.
That's it. They did one hit job on the
was
XYZ and
like,
the Unshackled. Yeah.
They must have been They must have been following my Telegram, because I'm like, the fucking idiots put the link to my YouTube on the fucking article, and then it was like 5 minutes later they'd edited the fucking article, and my link was gone. I should have shut my fucking mouth. You know?
Yeah, they know.
You
They know.
Fucking
Yeah.
idiot, Dusty.
They know. Yeah.
We've got a question on entropy from Anxious Aussie. This is about the drag queens. Corsets, arseless chaps, nipple tassels, and too much fake cleavage and clown makeup. Do they count as adult jokes these days? And if you have a question or a super chat, you can join us over in entropy as well. Let us know if you're having trouble with that.
I remember, like, I went to Bangalore Road in Thailand for my honeymoon, and there's, like, drag queens, you know what I mean?
Oh, well,
They
they're
were
late.
they were all good, mate. Not a problem. I voluntarily went there, and I was like, whatever, mate. Had a laugh and a beer with the fucking drag queens, you know? All good, mate. But I think in a tax-funded public area, it's not a voluntary interaction, taking my taxpayers' dollars and fucking allowing some of this stuff to go on. I have no choice. If I stop paying my rates bill, what are they going to do to me, Tim? What are they going to fucking do to me if I say I'm not paying that bill anymore? It's not a voluntary thing. It was voluntary for me to go down Bangalore Road to fucking Ladyboy Street and see the fucking, whatever they were, drag queens. Maybe it was voluntary for the parents to take their kids to hear the drag queen read the story. That's their choice. That's their choice. That's fine. Whatever. But do I have a fucking choice when they spend my money on a fucking library and then they allow some of this stuff to go on?
Well, what about safe schools, which, if you live in Victoria, is compulsory for all public schools, and there's no opt-out?
Yeah. So you don't have a choice there. Yeah.
I mean,
Is that currently, like, actually funded in the schools in Victoria?
Yeah, Victoria, Daniel Andrews made it, and it's the full uncensored Ros Ward version of it. So
Wow, that's crazy.
what shit? And let's remember.
What
that
about Christian schools? Do they have to teach that shit or what?
they can choose whether to, and a lot of Christian schools are cucked, and so they adopted the Safe Schools program.
Wow.
So have a couple of Jewish schools as well.
Oh, well, that's all right then.
But going back to, because I just want to focus on this, the left, it's always the ones who claim that they're for compassion, that they're tolerant for love. They're the most hateful, bigoted people you can imagine.
Yes. I'm memeing, but yes.
Just full of love, mate.
Yeah.
I reckon, what do you reckon about the next time there's a drag queen story time and I'll rock up and just talk to the parents and the drag queen? Be like, how you going?
Interview
Dusty
them.
Bogan.
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
just say, how you going? What's happening? Tell me your story. Give us a, bit of a cuddle with the old drag queen. Best mates. We'll go to the pub, fucking knock a schooner back. Rock and roll, mate.
I am interested to know, like, who are these parents deliberately taking their kids along to this? I'm interested to know. I'm interested to know if they would happily take their kids along, say, if it was like a female stripper, like in just bikinis and stuff. If it was a female stripper, reading a story.
Oh no, because
the boys
Daniel
would love
Andrews,
that.
he wanted the grid girls, the octa girls, and the ring girls banned.
Yep.
Oh, well, not just for children, but for adults as well, because they might, the men who see them, they might go on to rape women.
I set them up, you knock them down. That's exactly the point. So it's okay to have drag queens. That's what we call them anyway. Reading stories to little kids, but you can't have adult men. You can't have adults looking at girls in bikinis at a boxing match. It's ridiculous. That's clown world right there.
Yeah,
that's the world we're in. to quote that.
We've got a question here
America.
from Binary Agenda on Entropy. At least 90% of the population would disagree with drag queen story hours. Honestly shocked that the official LNP disavowed him so quick.
Yep.
How do we force the issue so more people wake up to it?
Don't vote for the LNP. Accelerationism. You can't vote for
Well,
them.
do you think the ordinary person, they've seen what's happened to the leader of this protest, do you think that's going to encourage or deter the silent majority from protesting drag story time?
I think I think the way I put it is, like, the Twitterati have to think very carefully about who they pick on, because sooner or later they're going to pick on somebody who isn't I don't know, quite as gentle as Wilson Gavin.
Let's also remember that in 2016 they killed Bill Leak.
Yeah.
Remember
absolutely.
He did that cartoon.
Absolutely.
About the drunk Aboriginal neglecting his child.
Yes.
And Tim Supomasani, who was the race discrimination commissioner at the time, said, please complain to the Human Rights Commission.
Yep.
I think a couple were accepted, but of course there was a social media pylon at the time. And I think the cartoon, it happened, was around 2015. So about a year later, he died of a heart attack. He was only 62.
Yeah. Tim Shitpossum has blood on his hands, just like the Veronicas have blood on their hands.
Oh yes, because it was it Jessica? The reason they're called the Veronicas is because their last name is
V1 and V2. Yeah.
Yeah. They're called the Veronicas because their last name is too hard to pronounce.
Yeah, okay.
But yes, Jessica, she posted it on her Instagram saying, "Oh, look how horrible this protest is." She's got a transgender partner.
Is he a bloke? Does he have a dick or?
I didn't bother exploring that.
Or more? Nah. Is it a bloke or a Sheila?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. But they were trans. I don't know. Look it up.
Yeah, it does matter because there are only two. There are only two sexes.
Kinda.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's. I looked at the picture. I'm like, so it's a bloke. I'm like, she's going with a bloke who thinks he's a chick. So he's like, not tonight, honey. I'll just. We're gonna get you in trouble, Timmy.
As we were saying, we want the Twitter rage mob. Bring it.
She'd be like, Veronica's gonna be like, that Dusty Bogan. Nah. Come on, give us an interview, love. I'll let you have a say.
Yeah.
They disabled their social media accounts after Wilson's death, and I think they posted something saying, "Oh, like this is such a tragedy." But let's not remember.
I think that's what you call an admission of guilt.
The Veronicas, they got kicked off a Qantas flight last year because they were being obnoxious. And let's remember that they're mid-30s now. They're washed-up stars. They haven't been relevant since 2007.
They're well past the wall.
Yes, and so basically they still think they're superstars even though they're not. And remember will.i.am, the ex-Black Eyed Peas rapper, he claimed that a Qantas cabin crew member targeted him because they were racist, and then the Veronicas said, "Oh, it's the same one who was mean to us. Qantas clearly need to deal with them." And will.i.am published this flight attendant's name on Twitter to all his millions of followers, and the Veronica said, "Yeah, that's the same one," and basically doxing an anonymous flight attendant, saying that they were racist.
Yeah.
What if that flight attendant had committed suicide?
Yeah, we're sensing a pattern here, aren't we? It's interesting
and they
how
disabled their social media after that as well.
Yeah, okay. It's interesting how the old rockers from the 60s and 70s and the 80s, the way they stay around too long is that they just keep releasing albums when they're, their best music was like back at their peak. But when they go on tour, they still play all the hits, so everybody appreciates that.
Well,
that's the way that the old school rock stars hang around too long. The way that this new breed of pop stars hang around too long, they've got to remain relevant. They become social justice warriors, and they virtue signal on the internet.
Well, they're still going to be performing
pick
at the
on
Australian
ordinary
Open
people.
this year.
Yeah.
On the world stage.
Yeah.
Remember that Margaret Court, apparently they're not allowed to. They're commemorating but not celebrating her career on the 50th anniversary of her Grand Slam.
I think I've seen headlines such as, "We've got to have a discussion about how we deal with Margaret Court."
Margaret Court, which she's just a traditional Christian. She says she doesn't hate homosexuals.
Just hates the sin,
All she said is basically that indoctrinating children like in safe schools is what Hitler did, and that's what the devil does.
Amen.
She didn't say that gay people were like Hitler or the devil. But of course, what does the context of something matter when you hate somebody and want to manipulate what they say to demonize them?
That's all that matters now. Emotion.
Well, you think about this, right? What about Qantas? So Qantas has got these gay people. There must be some certain level of indoctrination or control.
Oh, well, they had that ring. They were they were making their employees wear, I think, either badges or these commitment rings.
They weren't forcing, but it was optional. It was
optional.
Yeah, what was it? What was it called? I can't remember what it was. Yeah, but it was acceptance ring. That's
acceptance
what it was
rings.
called.
Yeah,
and
they were specifically designed to be rings that didn't meet up in the middle.
Yes.
It was
I did a real
symbolism.
clickbaity article at the time. I called it "One Ring to Control Us All."
Yeah, I remember that. That was very well done. Yeah,
but this is what I reckon about it. So Qantas, they've got fucking all this. They're doing it all. How did this racist bloke? How can he exist in Qantas?
Well, I don't want to give away.
Excellent point.
Even exist?
Yes.
I know down in fucking Melbourne, how does there any racist or homophobe even down in Victoria? Because they've got it all. It's all happening down there. The left have got full control, and it doesn't work. It's not working. Didn't work for Qantas.
They're
living in a fucking control freak fantasy world.
To Qantas's credit, it's obvious that the flight attendant wasn't racist. It was just that will.i.am, he just didn't like being told to follow standard safety instructions.
He just wanted to get on the piss, mate.
And the pattern here is that this attendant was the only person who had the guts to actually tell famous people to actually behave themselves.
How dare you?
You're being a dickhead, mate.
Yeah. You need to be an attendant. That'd be great.
Qantas, you have to give
maybe I will. At Qantas,
Yeah. Yeah.
They can fucking get me.
You have
Get
to
my
get.
life
I
sorted
can
out.
just see it. There'll be all soy boys and like women who like don't like confrontation. They're like, "Hey, Dusty, can you deal with this?" You go along, "Hey, mate, you're being a dickhead."
Don't worry, mate. Come, we'll just do a fucking beer bong out the back. You'll be right. You'll be right, Will. You'll be right.
That's it. That's it.
The Veronica, just fucking
In-
few shots with her. You'll be right, bitch.
That's it. You're not allowed to
Your
smoke in the
shiny
toilets, but
boyfriend.
you can do beer bongs in there. That's
And the Veronica's,
That's right.
one of the I haven't got the screenshot with me, but one of their posters for their recent shows, it shows one of the Veronicas, she's grabbing her vagina, and the other Veronica, she's basically got this low cut leotard or whatever it is, where she's basically flashing half of her vagina.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, we know that they're degenerate. She went out with that
Ruby
other
Rose,
Ruby,
where
yeah,
she's now Hollywood lesbian now.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, they are basically doing everything that they can to remain relevant in a Hollywood where, interestingly, there's a spate of suicides running through Hollywood. They're either suspicious murders or people know that they've got dirt on them, so they're doing themselves in. So you know that's all gonna.
I just
go
want
down in
to,
the storm.
before we give Qantas some credit, because they said that we will fund the flight attendants' legal bills if they
Yeah.
choose to sue Will.i.am.
Yeah, good on them.
Which is, you want an employer to in that situation to back their staff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
A rare moment of clarity
Dusty, you
from them.
mentioned that in Victoria, how can we have a racist, sexist, or homophobe? Well, everyone was horrified this week with a Nazi flag that was on display at a private residence in rural Victoria. Let's have a look here. Nazi flag taken down amid calls to strengthen anti-vilification laws. Nazi flag that was flying over a home in northwest Victoria has been taken down after sparking outrage and calls for the display of such symbol to be outlawed. Premier individuals yesterday condemned the flying of the flag as disgusting amid calls for the strengthening of the state's anti-vilification laws. So this was in the town of Bulla, which is alongside Victoria's famous Silo Art Trail in the state's Mallee region, which is near Mildura. This is the council chief executive. That's not an elected person. That's a person who the councillors appoint to run it. Said there was little the council could do except asking the residents to take it down. Yes, it was still on private property. Police received complaints about the flag. A spokesperson said it had been taken down after discussions with police council representatives. The police spokesperson said the occupants of the house were not aware the flag would cause offence. And as you can see here, it's not your standard Nazi flag. It's got everything in it.
I was actually up in that region last week. I can assure people I had nothing to do with this. Mind you, the swastika, it's a symbol that appears, like it's appeared for thousands of years all
it's
over
initially a
Asia.
Hindu symbol.
Yeah, and it's connected basically to the Aryans because, you know, they're believed to have been down there at some stage.
Someone in the chat is claiming that it's their house. Well, if it is...
I believe you. But yeah, like the point here is like you either have free speech or you're not, or you don't. And the other point is that the communist flag gets brandished.
Ros Warg said
openly.
she wanted to remove the racist Australian flag and replace it with a red communist flag, which has killed 100 million people. The Nazi flag killed 17 million.
Yes. I've been to rallies where communist flags have been openly brandished, and I did not hear any condemnation of that from any world leaders.
I went to the Labor Day rally in Brisbane last year, 2019, and dead set, after all the unions marched down the fucking road, then they were followed by the Labor Party, followed by the Green Party, and guess who followed last? The Australian Communist Party with the fucking hammer and sickles, big red flag with the yellow hammer and sickle. You know, and I was like, you can see the footage. Go to have a look at my YouTube channel. And I'm like, hey, you going, mate? What about the 110 million people that you killed?
Yeah.
We should get some of
it's
the
the most
local-
offensive flag
Yeah.
known to man.
Local Polish people in Australia, we should interview them and say, if you see, like, when the
Yeah.
communist flag is on display, just how much trauma it brings up for them, given
Absolutely.
how they were suppressed and starved as late as the 80s in Poland.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I just want to go further down here because Maddie's favorite anti-free speech activist, where is he here? Australian Anti-Defamation Commission for Devere Brankovic has been calling on the Victorian government to ban the display of Nazi memorabilia and flags. They're using the swastika as a rallying cry to celebrate the murderous legacy of the Third Reich, and they have the law on their side. Anyone who loves this country and believes in the core values that bind us together of respect and freedoms would be horrified. And we have here...
So, but you paused on that because his own sentence contradicts his own sentence. Yeah.
Now, it mentions here Reason Party MPs Fiona Hatton proposed amendments to extend the Racial and Religious Tolerance Act. Fiona Hatton was on Twitter in response to this saying that we shouldn't ban the Nazi swastika, that would be counterproductive, and Victorian Liberal Democrats MLC David Limbrick agreed. And I think somebody replied to them saying it's basically displaying that is basically the same as flying a flag which displays child pornography.
Well, if they're happy to ban the if they're happy to ban flying the communist symbol, say, like, as people pointing out in the chat, I can't believe I forgot this, over Box Hill Police Station, then, you know, maybe we'll make a trade. You ban communist...
And Fiona Patton made the point that Germany's ban on the swastika, it means that not even in movies about... Nazi Germany or video games, they have to remove the swastika. Yeah. But she then pointed
like
out...
sort of airbrushing them, kind of like the commies, huh?
Yeah. But she pointed out that in Israel, there's no ban on the swastika.
Interesting. Yeah.
I'll put the entropy link again, because we've got quite a huge audience tonight. So
yeah, it's great to see everybody.
Link in again, so you can, as I said, ask us a question or send through a super chat. But yes, basically, Devere Abramovich, he basically, anything that I deem offensive should be banned.
Yeah, I think Devere's, like, he basically wants the only people who are allowed to use the swastika, Jews who, like, put it on their own property and try to fake a hate crime. That's the only way he wants that to go on.
A lot of the swastika vandalism, it's just kids who, like, they know it's like a bad symbol, and so they just draw it. Like they wouldn't even know that much about the Nazi regime, or let alone embrace the Nazi ideology.
It's like drawing penises on.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. What's next on the menu, Tim?
Oh yes, the bushfire aftermath, which after last weekend's another flare up in East Gippsland, which claimed the life of a firefighter.
How many people have died now?
Pardon?
Is it up to 30? How many people have died all up in the bushfires?
I think it's 30.
Yeah, okay.
Because there's been two more. There was one who died a few weeks ago, but it's attributed to the bushfires now.
Yeah, okay.
So we've spoken about how, again, the lefty lynch mob, the bullying and harassers, have been spamming Twitter with hashtag not my prime minister, Morrison fires, Morrison resign, we need the Queen to sack ScoMo. And of course the mainstream media have said this Twitter spamming is representative of Australia.
Yeah, and they ignore the fact that it's the Greens' fault is also trending. Yeah.
Oh, well, they have algorithms set up to make sure that if that happens, then it's only temporary.
That's right.
But it has...
They've also made sure that the something about arson, like they've made sure that the arson stuff doesn't trend as well.
Oh, yeah, they've said that's fake news, that
Yes.
arson didn't cause the bushfires.
But like, I think it's something close to 200 people.
Well,
have been
for
arrested.
starting bushfires, whether
Yes.
intentionally or unintentionally, that's
Yes.
in New South Wales
Alone.
24 were arson, and Daniel Andrews said that he wasn't aware of any bushfires in Victoria that was started by arson, even though that there was a 36-year-old man arrested in East Gippsland
Yes.
for deliberately starting bushfire, and basically the local police there had to keep the lynch mob at bay. So Daniel Andrews says, I don't know of any arson cases in Victoria.
Yeah. You can actually make the case. Like, obviously, they've got to warn people when there are extreme bushfire conditions coming on. But they made such a big deal about the fact that the next day was going to be like over 40 with strong winds. It's basically a red flag for every arsonist out there.
Yeah, it's sort of
to
like,
go and start a
if
bushfire.
you just sort of lit a small fire, wink, 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 wink.
Yeah, and just do it along that rail corridor as well. But now I am doing conspiracy theories. Yeah.
I know that ABC, they were eager to debunk the arson conspiracy, and they attributed most of it to lightning strikes.
It's amazing because it's amazing that this fire season has been the only fire season that we've ever had where like there've been almost no arsonists, because I remember, like, for my whole life hearing about arsonists every single time. I remember when the 2009 Black Saturday bushfires happened and they had the they found the arsonists. There were stories on these guys. Everybody knew who they were. Like, these guys were the scum of the earth. Like, and like, I've seen docos about them. Like, the arsonists, they have this weird. This kind of links in with the conspiracy theory that it was Extinction Rebellion who could be behind it, because they have this weird sexual thing with it too. Like, they.
Yeah, it's called firophilia.
Yeah, they're weirdos, and so
They're like pedophiles with their destructiveness.
yes, and like, it's been publicized every single time there's been a bushfire. Every single time we've had bushfire seasons, but now they want to pretend that it doesn't happen. It's the same as how they talk about how, like, the West is changing demographically, but white genocide is a conspiracy theory. It's like they're trying to memory hole all the stories they've ever done about this. It's amazing.
Yeah, they're doing their best to, and they're being assisted by Google and Facebook to hide what they've said in the past. But
Yes.
those are old enough to remember since Paul Ercock's the population bomb in 1968 that said the world would die from starvation because of overpopulation by the year 1980.
Yeah, that's
We're
it,
in
that's it.
2020 now. Like, all throughout the 70s, everyone thought that the world was going to end, and that was during the
We were supposed to have an ice age as well.
yeah,
weren't
age
we?
of Aquarius, where there was stagflation, inflation, unemployment. There were serial killers on the loose in Ted Bundy. There was the coal miner strikes in the UK. We had Whitlam wrecking the joint in Australia. Yeah, it was a really dark time.
Maybe we can convince the lefties that, okay, it was arsonists, but they were all Russian bots, Come on.
How
he
many
gets there
houses
eventually,
have
yeah.
burnt? Like, do we know how many houses were lost? Like, all up?
Let's have a look at the stats here. Let's get official up-to-date information from Wikipedia, which is... Obviously, Wikipedia, they have their subjective information, such as when they call Stefan Molyneux a far-right white supremacist extremist. But then they have their objective facts, like how many people died in the bushfires, how many homes destroyed. So let me...
I always think about this. I remember when the fucking floods happened in Brisbane, and I think there was 5,000 homes.
Did they blame
Brisbane.
climate change then?
I don't think they did.
Oh, so it's
Well, they
only
know.
recent.
I'm pretty sure the Premier got a fucking clean pass on it. She was amazing. She did such a
Anna
brilliant
Bligh.
job.
Yeah, she still lost the next election, though.
Yeah.
That's
But,
in it.
you know.
Oh, yeah.
It was an amazing thing to see how everyone came together and got in down there cleaning up these houses. The houses were fucking destroyed, mate. But I believe more houses were destroyed in the flood than possibly even more lives. I don't know, but it was just like, it's in our memory. This is like not long ago, and we didn't see Anna Blight get fucking smeared, or Kevin Rudd or whoever the fuck was in power then.
It's not
Julia
just
Gillard.
Well, what was really interesting about the Queensland floods, this is an important one. So they had the inquiry into the handling of the Wivenhoe Dam, and they found out that like the people who were responsible for managing it, they had warnings that a huge amount of rain was coming their way. And they were told that they should, start releasing water in preparation so that when the water did get released, it wouldn't cause a flood. But they held on to the water and they didn't act on it. And so the implication of that is, okay, why did they hold on to this water? Surely, like, if you're in charge of this, you know how it works. And what I think needs investigation is, were they influenced by climate change thinking, so-called climate change thinking, worried that they had to hold on to every little bit of water because, in the words of Tim Flannery, the Australian of the Year, it'll never rain again. And if so, like, can we actually pin the responsibility for those floods on all these climate activists, in particular Tim Flannery? Yeah.
And don't forget what I call, it's not just ScoMo derangement syndrome, but Murdoch derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
Basically saying that...
you've got to see their latest one. It is amazing. It's like they tell this... as fanciful as the narrative of World War II has become, they kind of tell their own fanciful version of it as well. It is beautiful. Please continue, Tim.
Yeah, so all the rest of the mainstream media have been saying it's Rupert Murdoch's News Corp controlled Australian papers that have promoted climate denialism and stifled climate action policies in Australia over the past decade. Even though, I think I've said this previously, that to access Murdoch media, whether it be the Herald Sun, the Australian or Sky News, you have to pay.
Yes.
If you share a Herald Sun or Australian article, the paywall comes up. Sky News is only available on Foxtel. You get some of it for free if you live in rural Australia and watch Win TV, but every other news website is free. The Guardian is free. Crikey has a paywall. So does the Saturday paper. I think the Fairfax, they have, you get 30 free articles a month.
Yep.
Then, of course, there is Junkie, Pedestrian TV, BuzzFeed, although BuzzFeed has improved this year, so we'll give them credit where it's due.
So you're making the point that the vast majority of media in Australia is left-wing.
There's one right of centre overall.
Yeah.
The only free Murdoch publication...
And even Murdoch is globalist. Like, both Lucas Rosses and we've analysed a lot of Murdoch material. They're still globalists at the end of the day. And they can virtue signal just as hard as the rest of them.
News.com.au is their only free website, and that is left-wing. I remember one of... I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but one of their journalists who works there, he was one of the biggest fake news spinners about the St Kilda protest last summer. And so he was employed by News Corp.
Yeah, okay, there you
and
go.
all the Sky After Dark people that I hate so much, Rita Panicky, Andrew Bolt, Rowan Dean, Peter Credlin, Paul Murray, and Alan Jones, they're all on holiday at the moment. They haven't come back. I also forgot to mention the New Daily. The New Daily is free because it's funded by the union super funds. Sam Maiden is their political editor. She's been hammering Scott Morrison's every wrong move. So has Peter Van Onselen, political editor of Network 10 and current host of The Project, filling in for Waleed Shoes.
Importantly as well, they're all failing, aren't they?
Well, sorry?
These companies, they're not making much money, are they? Like, Fairfax were taken over by Channel 9. You know, and then you've got the ABC, the $1 billion funded
Oh
megaliths,
yes,
which
the
doesn't have to make a profit.
Maddie made a good point. Was it Maddie that made the point that it's an emergency broadcaster?
I
but
made this point.
A
I'm
climate
writing a piece
change,
on it. Yeah,
propagandist outlet as
Yeah.
well. Because remember,
I've
that was
got-
Kevin
yeah.
Rudd said, "Thank God for the ABC because it's our emergency broadcaster," mixed
Yes.
in with a bit of propaganda as well.
It's like putting Stalin in charge of the food rations. It's an abusive relationship. Like the institution which you rely on for emergency information is mixing in climate change narrative with the emergency information. It's a disgrace.
It's the worst sales pitch, but because the free market, we've been fucking bombarded with news.
Yeah.
You know, what are you going to tell me? You can't find this shit on Facebook or everywhere? Like, that's the most pathetic excuse I've ever heard.
Oh, you mean as in like they're justifying their existence by saying, "Hey, we provide the emergency broadcast." Yeah.
Well,
Have
given
you
that,
seen the Bluey cartoon? Have you seen that cartoon on? I think it's on ABC. That's fucking the one good thing on that whole channel.
Well, if there's anything that people actually want to watch, they could just pay for it themselves. They don't need the ABC. Like it's the whole Peppa the Pig or bananas in pajamas argument. Well, if they're recognizable brands that people love, privatize the ABC. These brands will make a squillion without the ABC. Yeah.
Bloody oath.
Yeah.
You talked about last week, Kevin Rudd, he wrote an op-ed for the Guardian saying that he knows the solution to prevent future bushfires and how to lead the recovery, even though he set roofs on fire with his home insulation program and killed 4 tradesmen.
How can we sleep when our roofs are burning? Yeah.
But now Malcolm Turnbull in Time magazine, which, remember, Greta Thunberg was the person of the year. What did you call her, Dave?
I've been banned. I've got 6 days to go. I called her a retard. Yeah.
Wasn't it communist idiot?
I called her a retarded communist ugly bitch. I think that's what I call it.
And don't forget, there's the Facebook bug, which revealed that it's her father who does her Facebook posts. Yeah. This is Malcolm Turnbull saying Australia's bushfires show the wicked, self-destructive idiocy of climate denialism must stop. Wow, that's a lot of abuse in just one headline.
Yeah, it's that's called an ad hominem. It's amazing how these people pass themselves off as being beholden to the science, yet he's got an ad hominem in the headline. Yeah,
we're not going to go through it because the headline is supposed to summarize the article.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So the important thing here is that we're at a crucial point in Australia's history, because for about 3 decades now, environmentalist policies have led to the build-up of too much fuel and in Australia's bush, and so it's making bushfires unmanageable and it's making them deadly and catastrophic. And so then the left have used these catastrophic bushfires as proof that climate change is real, when it was their environmentalist policies which caused it in the first place. So we've got a prime minister who we suspect could be a little bit weak. And we need him to not cuck on this, because if he does, we're not going to have effective management of the bush, and we're going to continue to pull down our coal-fired power plants. The whole push of this from the left is to reduce our carbon emissions to 0. So we're going to have unmanageable bushfires, and we're not going to have electricity.
Well, Scott Morrison, he did an interview with David Spears, who used to be on Sky News News with the ABC.
Yeah.
Where I'm not sure if he signalled there that they might reconsider climate policy, but he's now announced there's going to be a royal commission.
I think that's a very smart move, because that will open it up to everybody.
It's an independent commission.
That's okay. Basically,
they don't have to accept the recommendations, but I know you just know that Labor and the media, if they recommend more climate change policy, they're going to say the Royal Commission recommended it. You must implement it.
Because the Royal Commission, the last Royal Commission in Victoria, recommended more hazard reduction.
Well, that was before these royal commissions became all political, and well, the federal ones recently have all recommended the wrong thing. The Banking Royal Commission that recommended getting rid of mortgage brokers, even though that would centralise the power of the big banks. The Aged Care Royal Commission that basically said more government money is the solution, even though that entices dodgy people.
Yeah, but the thing about this Royal Commission is they're going to have to get the people in who lost their homes. They're going to have to get firefighters in. They're going to get people coming in and saying, "Look, we wanted to clear our land, but the local government wouldn't let us." So they're going to get that testimony. I find it really interesting that the Liberal government here in Victoria has actually moved to set up their own inquiry, so that they can basically choose the outcome of that.
Although Daniel Andrews, he got more than he bargained for. Remember last Friday with the Marxist socialist alternative
when they were marching in the rain?
Yeah, dressed up as climate justice rally,
Yes.
where Daniel Andrews said this will stretch our services, and so says that you'll lose support if you protest in the city this Friday.
And they protested anyway.
They did.
Yeah.
But it rained.
Yeah, that they were beautiful pictures. Just seeing them all, like they had ponchos, so they were and umbrellas. They were obviously prepared for it. I thought it was never going to rain again. God damn it!
And the dumb mainstream media, they reported it as a climate change rally, and the 9 News Sydney lady, she's giving a report, and she's oblivious to the banner of Karl Marx that's being unfurled behind her during the live cross.
Yeah, that's magnificent.
Is
justice,
that Santa Claus that you're unfurling there?
Optics, people. Is it true that the leaders of the march they actually responded to Daniel Andrews and they said, "Screw your optics, we're going in." What else have you got for us, too?
Oh yes, we're going to get the real time statistics for the bushfire damage here. This is from Wikipedia. So burned areas approximately 18.6 million hectares. What is it? Breams cause record breaking heat, record breaking drought.
How many hectares did you say?
Lightning strikes. Positive in Indian Ocean dipole. That's another thing. Just the natural weather patterns. Alleged arson and accident. So it says buildings destroyed 6,500. We'll go further down here. Overview. 29 deaths. But that's buildings destroyed, 6,500 plus. But it's 2,683 homes, so where people live.
Yep.
So the rest, I don't know if they're government buildings or like a shed or something.
Yeah.
But going back,
probably more homes destroyed in the Queensland flood.
Well, it was during Black Saturday. It was 173 who died, so that was a huge death toll, and it was 3,500 homes destroyed.
Yeah, okay, there you go. They do at least understand. Okay, you got to get people out because the bushfires, which our environmentalist policies are causing now, you can't stay and defend your home. Although a few people have, but
credit to our emergency services, the firefighters, and the Australian Defence Force.
Yeah, it was our Dunkirk getting people off the beaches. Yeah, it was pretty full on.
Because now a lot of the towns they're burnt. So, the fires are out because they've burnt everything. So now residents are going back, and they've said now we can't rebuild our communities by ourselves. We want tourists to come back now.
Oh, yes.
And you remember when Kylie Minogue on, I think it was Boxing Day, released that Tourism Australia ad aimed at Brits, and all the comments were below like lefties saying, "Don't come to Australia, it's on fire, don't come." And so basically the lefties are still...
They're talking down our economy, huh?
Talking down tourism as well. They're saying that Australia will just be like this all the time now. It's a horrible place to be. So these residents, they want to rebuild their town. They want people to come back, but the left is like, no, it's going to be awful forever. Do not ever go anywhere in Australia.
Well, unfortunately, if they get their way, they'll be right. That's the fork in the road that we're at. That's why this current public debate is so important. There are set. If you're an accelerationist, back the greenies. If you want to if you want to be able to fight for a first world country, then we've got to back Scott Morrison on this.
We've got a super chat from Savenek for $50. Thank you so much. You've always been very generous to all of us, Savenek. Some climate shekels to help you cope with catastrophic climate change. I don't want you guys to become climate refugees.
Yeah.
And we've also got a question from St. Fox about the flag. Should we allow the ISIS flag then?
Oh yeah, there's another one. The ISIS flag has been branded in marches in Melbourne or Sydney, I think, and the Hezbollah flag, I think, has been brandished in a march in Melbourne as well. Jael, the wife of Haber, did a couple of pieces on that.
But going back to
one Nazi flag and fucking all Australia's history flying on someone's yard, eh?
Everybody loses their mind.
Imagine how many Islamic State flags were getting around.
Yeah.
For a while there. I bet you there was like, oh fuck. They were probably like flying once a fucking month. Yeah. On suburban houses in Sydney, western suburbs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think during that Sydney siege, when it was Habibi or the terrorist who held up the Lint Cafe.
Man Monas.
And I think Habibi was a refugee, actually.
He was Iranian.
Yeah. He held up an ISIS flag, and I'm pretty sure the media was saying, we're not quite sure what he's holding up there.
Oh, no, they got some Islamic scholars on who said, no, it's not an ISIS flag, it's a different one. It's actually a really beautiful flag. Even though he's holding people hostage.
That's it. They don't get some German up there going, oh, no, look, it's not It was used by a certain part of the German Navy in the Indian Ocean or something.
One of the residents said that she was flying it because she had German ancestry.
Yeah, it's a part of her culture.
And so people said, "Oh, what? So you only got a flag to represent 12 years of Germany?"
Maybe she liked those 12 years.
But going back to the mainstream media's campaign against ScoMo and the social media spamming, it has affected the first news poll of the year, because now everyone takes polls seriously again. Because Scott Morrison has had a 22-point drop in his approval rating. So Scott Morrison is on 39% better PM, Elbows at 43%. And Labor's ahead 51 to 49, and 57% disapprove of Scott Morrison's performance.
Yeah, look, it's possible that there are quite a lot of Aussies who don't like the fact that he was away for holidays.
Yeah, and the fact that he's shaking people's hands when they don't want to.
Yeah, the way that he's handled it, that's the sort of thing which I think can turn public opinion.
Yeah.
I don't think that will reflect public opinion on climate change. We've got to remember that the whole reason Scott Morrison won this was because Labor's climate change policy was just not electorally feasible. They lost due to climate change. The left, basically, they keep losing elections. Then a couple of months later, they keep pushing their same old agendas, pretending that election never happened. So in a couple of months' time, when the fires are actually out and we're talking about how we actually deal with this, you'll see those news polls go back up, because then it'll actually be over climate change rather than Scott Morrison's handling of it.
They've gotten rid of 3 prime ministers because of news poll now.
Yeah.
And of course one in Tony Abbott.
Yes.
He was behind for 30 news polls, but let's not remember that Scott Morrison, he lost every news poll right up to election eve.
Yeah, John Howard was always behind, in the middle of his terms. The media were always predicting a Liberal spill, and they were always predicting that the Liberals were going to get wiped out at every election, and it was, that's normal. So I'm not worried about the news poll.
But of course, the way the media are trying to Well, they're going to try and spin for the next 2.5 years that it's a government in chaos disarray. And Albo, he hasn't done anything. He's the opposition leader. He doesn't need to do anything. He's done a few announcements here and there.
He just seems like a scumbag, doesn't he? Like, the way he talks, you're like...
Albo
dude,
is...
You're always looking for a pot shot.
Compared to Shorten, I mean, Albo's a nice bloke.
Yeah. I guess so. I think ScoMo... You said it before about ScoMo with the handshake. Like, that... When I was seeing that, I was like, oh, man... Just looked terrible, didn't it?
Yeah, he tried to grab it like that.
Fuck, man. That was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Like, he should have just, I don't know, just say like this is a. He should have just been, you just don't do that. When has that ever fucking happened? Like, I don't think anyone's ever tried to shake my hand like that. It's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That's just not normal. Like, it makes him out to be no normal social cues. You can't read the situation. It's not a good look.
Yeah, his mind obviously wasn't working in that. It's a weird one. I'll put in the disclaimer that John Howard basically betrayed us all. What I'm doing here is analysing Australian politics rather than sort of saying John Howard did good. But yeah, it was a funny one. Like I think it must be on his mind that he knew that he was already on the back foot over like being away. Like he let the media get to him. And then, he just kept making gaffes, and they got that on camera and just played it.
It looked fucking terrible.
Yeah. It's we might finish off now. It's award season this year. Well, of course, there's the Oscars where Joker. Remember, The Guardian and all those other left-wing websites were telling us not to see it because some incel might shoot up the theater.
Yeah.
It grossed over $1 billion. First R-rated, this is the US, to gross over $1 billion. One of the most successful comic book films, nominated for 11 Oscars, including Joaquin Phoenix for Best Actor and, of course, Best Picture. But they've decried that there's no women nominated for Best Director, and there's only one woman of colour in the acting categories, and she plays a slave.
So what you're saying is that they're typecast, yeah?
Well, maybe that means that Hollywood should stop making slavery films.
Yeah,
because they've made quite a few.
Why, if they can recast black people as like ancient Europeans, why can't we recast white people as slaves?
Or white people, or have a movie where people of colour are slave whipping whites.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it would actually be, kind of like the history before the American slave trade. But anyway, yeah.
Just a movie like bashing convicts and just be like, all these convicts having a terrible time of it.
Let's make a movie about
maybe English people. They should be like, well, the British are colonizing the world, and it's just like back home in England and how the fucking English people were like, oh, fuck, just getting smashed by fucking redcoats and treated exactly the same,
Yeah.
Battling away. That'd be so fucking great.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there aren't that many female film directors, and most of the time they make romantic comedies or chick flick. They're the highest grossing film.
I.e., like, can you please stop being what's the word? I can't remember the word. Sorry, just
the high. I think still the highest grossing film by a female director is What Women Want. Remember that when Mel Gibson plays that chauvinist advertising executive, and then he gets electrocuted, and then he can hear what women think, and he learns to be a sensitive new age guy.
Apparently,
watched that school back in 2005.
I've heard that if you play that movie backwards, he's actually saying subliminal messages about the Jews. But, you know.
I noticed that his two female assistants, Mel Gibson's character, he can't hear their thoughts, which is basically meant to imply that they're men.
Trans.
Because he's like, what? No thoughts? But at the Unshackled, we've got our annual Unshackler Awards. We've got 10 categories. We've just released 2. We've got our Regressive of the Year. That's the first one we announced. This was on Tuesday evening.
Some of our favourite friends are on there.
Premier Daniel Andrews, basically...
good old dick ears.
Yeah, as Maddie calls him, for, Safe Schools Program, anti-free speech, laws enabling the socialist Marxists in Victoria. New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian for helping to legalise abortion in the state.
Yep.
Waleed Ali,
he's just a fan favourite. Waleed Ali, like his sole job is to actually be clickbait for any like right-wing news site where it's like, the views are just a little low this week. Let's just put up something about what Wally said, and everybody will click on it.
It used to be Yasmin.
Because everybody hates him.
Yeah, but Yasmin now she's run away.
Yeah.
But I remember like that was anything of. With Waleed, anytime you post something about him in the comments, there's all these Waleed memes.
They're
People have got
amazing.
them ready to go.
Yeah.
Like people have just got a file on their phone of Waleed
the
memes.
Wally file. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Who's that guy? I don't even know.
David Shoebridge, the New South Wales Greens MLC.
That guy has the highest pitched voice I've ever heard.
He's
in my
the
life.
one that got arrested at the Kirribilli protest against climate change.
He needs to
He
lay
was
off
in
the
court
soy.
today.
Yeah, I
and
know.
If he's convicted, then he'll get disqualified.
Yeah, he was saying, oh, you cannot arrest your way out of having to deal with climate change. It was amazing, and he said it in this really whiny high voice.
Christina Keneally, because she wants to let in the ISIS brides back into Australia, and she wanted all the foreign CPAC Australia speakers banned.
She's the one over in what is it, Turnbull's old seat or no?
She ran at the Benelog by-election against John Alexander. She lost, but she got appointed to the Senate to fill Sam Dastyari's vacancy.
Okay. Right.
She also wrote in the Guardian recently that Twiggy Forrest, his 70 million donation is great, but he just should have paid more tax. Basically, so what? So you can waste it, Christina?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, she's pretty regressive.
What's up with that bitch has like an American accent?
She's an American. She's from Ohio.
No shit.
Toledo, Ohio.
What's her citizenship like?
She's an Australian. She renounced her American citizenship because she was New South Wales Premier as well.
That's right.
Remember, she got the job because of Joe Tripodi and Eddie Obeid.
Yeah, they have as many premiers as Italy have prime ministers, don't they? Yeah.
And of course, Eddie Obeid I think he's just got out of jail now for corruption.
Fancy that.
Then we've got some more grassroots regressives. We've got Alex Mann, who we were talking about before. Basically, after the lads in the National Party, he did a background briefing story with Osman Faruqi where they revealed who they thought was David Clarkson.
Yes.
They won a Kennedy Award for that, even though they got that wrong.
Honk honk.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jock Pal Freeman, the convicted murderer, who back in it was December 2008, I think it was. He stabbed 2 local Bulgarian young people because he says he saw them attacking a gypsy, and he had a butterfly knife on him and stabbed 2 of them. 1 died. He was convicted of murder to serve 20 years jail. He was granted parole last year, but it's being appealed now because by the Bulgarian government because, well, if a foreigner came to Australia and stabbed 2 Australians, we would have the right to be pretty pissed off about that. He's also an Antifa supporter as well.
Who just happened to be carrying a knife.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another stabber, convicted killer, David Hollis.
Yes, convicted killer. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Back in 1991 in Meadowbank, New South Wales, he stabbed 7 people at random, killing an innocent woman, but he only spent 17 months in prison because he was found insane or something like that.
I wonder if he watches this show. He's probably had to go to bed so he can get up early to go to work tomorrow. Yeah.
Work tomorrow. He was featured on a Win News Gippsland segment just before Christmas outside the Morwell Centrelink office, and he was they put under him New Start recipient. They should have had. Oh, they obviously.
You should frame that. That's amazing.
I know a few people photoshopped that to say David Hollis killer.
New Start recipient. That's beautiful. That's all you need.
And so he attends Antifa protests in Melbourne. He's not disavowed by people like Sue Munro.
No. Yeah.
And he slapped in
He walks side by side with
an
these people.
intervention order against Neil Erickson for no reason other than he didn't like him.
Yep.
That has been overturned now. Peter Grace, one of the biggest Facebook trolls, bully and harasses of people online. Remember his YouTube channel got shut down.
Who's he? I've never heard of him.
Peter Grace.
No.
Well, you wouldn't see him on YouTube because his channel got down because of all the hate material on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, David Clarkson reported his channel.
I was going to say, like, he must be a right winger. Does he hate the Jews?
Well, he has made homophobic videos. He has made videos mocking the disabled, and recently he also attacked a war veteran and a cancer survivor.
He sounds like a lovely fellow. Yeah.
And of course, Tom Tanuki, the leader of yelling at racist dogs, though he's only made one public appearance in the past year, because at the end of 2018, he and his girlfriend at the time met Bluebeard in the street. And Bluebeard...
I hear he ran away and cried. Is that true?
Rather than defend his girlfriend, he took her, like, she had to get stitches at the hospital, took her and they hid in a liquor shop until the police arrived. Remember the police he hates so much?
So what you're saying is that Tom Tanuki is a coward?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, but Tom Tanuki, he was quite ecstatic with his nomination, and he shared the link to the voting form to all his Twitter and Facebook followers.
So that's the kind of support we want from the left. Mention the Unshackled,
I'm glad
mention the XYZ.
He's getting into the spirit of it, and it could be one of the few awards he's ever going to win.
Yeah.
So let's have a look at how the polls are going at the moment. Just load the results. Tom Tanuki had 705 votes. Jockpal Freeman, maybe slack bastard.
Who's Jockpal Freeman again?
We just went.
I know you just told. I've forgotten who he is already.
The Bulgarian.
Him.
Bulgarian.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think maybe Slack Bastard, he was upset that he didn't get nominated this year, so maybe Slack Bastard's encouraging people
again,
to
send them our way, people.
Waleed Ali coming in third, 64 votes. Or Daniel Andrews.
Well, you should send that to Wally. Say, look, people don't hate you as much.
Waleed, he is.
I reckon that'll affect you.
Not complain and feed the trolls, to his credit.
Yeah, okay.
Gladys Berejiklian, she's coming in fifth. Christina Keneally.
Yeah, fair enough. Murdering children is pretty. It's pretty up there.
Yeah. Peter Grace, only 1%, 15 votes.
He's lonely again. Yeah.
David Hollis, 7 votes.
Yeah.
Alex Mann, 6 votes. David Shoebridge, only 3 votes.
I'll give it time. Like people hear his what.
Voting closes on Australia Day, and then our senior editor Damien Ferry announces the results.
So next week. Oh no.
Well, we've got the Patriot of the Year award, which is always grabs a lot of attention. So we've got, of course, Christopher Shortis, who was one of the Bendigo 3, convicted for the beheading of the dummy in Islamic garb. He tried to obtain a security license this year, but the government said no because of his conviction. Because of what he did. Neil Erickson, who regularly watches this show, he's got 2 charges that he's fighting this year for disturbing religious worship. Dusty, you mentioned the church incident with Dia. He's been charged with disturbing.
So he's getting charged for that, is he?
Yeah, and also they had a Islamic prayers at Federation Square one Friday.
Oh,
He interrupted that, so he's been charged for that as well.
Wow.
Yeah. Blair Cottrell, of course, he appealed his conviction under the Racial and Religious Tolerance Act, which the Bendigo 3 were tried and convicted in 2017 unsuccessfully. Basically the Victorian Andrews government threw all the resources they could at making sure that his conviction and fine of $2,000 was upheld. Then we've got Ricky Turner.
Right.
He was the one who stood on the steps of Flinders Street Station in Australia with an Australian flag and was almost lynched by the Invasion Day.
Yep.
Remember how they said it was fake news that he was almost lynched?
Yes, I've seen the footage. It definitely looked like a mob, and they were dragging him along. And I'm pretty sure that's the definition.
John Bolton, Blair Cottrell's lawyer, the only lawyer in Australia who was willing to defend Blair Cottrell.
Is it true that he's half cyborg?
He's
He looks mean. You wouldn't want to mess with him. Good man.
Samrat Joshua Gruel, who's a regular contributor to this show, my own show, and The Unshackled. This was for him being the catalyst for the reform of the Christian Democratic Party after their poor performance at the New South Wales state election. The Bendigo Faithful, which is largely female powered. They're the original Bendigo residents who opposed the construction of the mosque, which just broke ground this year.
They protest every single day, don't they?
Every week. Thursday. Okay. Thursday they call it Patriots Corner from midday to 2 p.m. They hold free speech, pro-Australia signs. They attracted there was a local anti-hate speech group that was created to counter them. Don't hate, mate. And they said on their website that waving Australian flags was racist. So yeah, they're still a thorn in the multiculturalist side in Bendigo, and they all came down for Blair's trial as well in November.
Good people.
Nick Folkes, he's the founder of Party for Freedom. He hasn't done any activism this year, but he's probably fought the biggest battle of his life. He beat cancer.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so unfortunate for the lefties, he's going to be around for many years to come to trigger you. So I think beating cancer, Patriot beating cancer, I think that's worthy of a nomination.
Absolutely.
Scott Morland, he ran as a Fraser Anning candidate in Queensland. He also manages the Reclaim Australia Facebook page. He's a war veteran, a small businessman, loving husband and father. So he's a worthy nominee. And Dennis Hutz, the Perth patriot who trolls the local left there. He unfurled the "It's Okay to Be White" banner at the cricket at the beginning of 2019, and also trolled the vegan protesters with a raw piece of meat.
Yeah, good. You got a good batch there. Good people.
So there's 8 more categories to go. Later tonight, we'll be releasing the Unshackler of the Year award. Then it's the Cis White Male of the Year, Triggered Feminist of the Year, Cuck of the Year, Culture Warrior of the Year, Degenerate of the Year, Media Personality of the Year, and Fake News Media Outlet of the Year.
Magnificent. Magnificent.
So they'll be coming one a day from now on. Damien's hard at. What the hell is that, Dusty?
Huh?
What the hell was that?
What was what?
Oh, we just heard a massive noise from your place.
Maybe a fucking bat.
Is Anning going to get in on Culture Warrior of the Year?
Sorry?
Fraser Anning.
Fraser Anning, he's nominated for, spoiler alert, he's Unshackler of the Year.
Okay, tremendous.
Well, given the amount of triggering he did in the first half of the year.
Yeah, it's amazing to think that was just like 8 months ago. Yeah.
And I love it now that people are in love with the big banks, Bendigo Bank, for persecuting him. because they say he's hiding in America for bankruptcy.
Yes.
Oh, you mean one of the big banks is targeting him?
Yes. I'm enjoying the suggestions in the chat. Actually, they've got some good suggestions for another category, Tim.
For another category.
Yeah.
Which show me which comment I'm supposed to be looking.
Saint Fox.
You can put it in entropy. You can put it in entropy. I'll put the link in again for him to join.
I think we're just about done, Tim.
Yes, there was a few omissions from Patriot of the Year, but we decided to focus on the people who solely been focused on Australia.
Yeah, great.
Now, Uncuckables, that will return next week at its regular time of 8:30 p.m. Melbourne time. You'll be away, but I'll be here, and I'm not sure if Maddie will join us. He had a broken back today, so he couldn't come on.
Broken back?
That's what he said. Something to do with his back.
Yeah, okay. I think it wasn't broken, but he'll be okay. Yeah. Basically, I'll be away next week, but after that, I'll be back on Uncuckables, rain, hail, or shine.
I'll be back with Wilms Front tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Melbourne time on the Tim Wilms YouTube and DLive channel. I've got a very special guest coming into the studio. I've got Alexandria Marshall. She's from the New South Wales Central Coast. She comes from an agricultural family. She's been trying to fight the social media spamming about the bushfires being linked to climate change. She's copped obviously a lot of abuse for it, but even though it seems like a bit of a lost cause trying to sort of turn the Twitter wave, she is giving it a go. So she's going to join me to talk about the real causes of the bushfires, given that she's from an agricultural background, and also just how social media has managed to distort our democracy, especially at the beginning of this year, and why she fights back against it.
Cool. Well, you can find me on Monday nights with Maddie Rose at 9 p.m. on Maddie Rose Live. You can also listen to me chatting with Mark Moncrief and Mark Richardson on Melbourne Traditionalists. We do just a sort of 25 to 30 minute podcast, and we usually just sort of tackle one or two subjects. It can be quite fun.
And you can catch me on a Thursday afternoon. I'm just going to be doing one show a week. Bang, Thursday.
Yeah, beauty.
Don't count on the time, because I think I said last week I was like, I'll be doing it 5 o'clock, and I didn't start till 6:45 or something. Savo.
Beer o'clock is not at a fixed time.
Nah. Literally, mate, I'm just going to be reading a bit of news and having a drink and a laugh. So, that's life.
We've got a few questions here. Saint Fox, Blue of the Year. Well, maybe that's something XYZ can do.
Yeah, maybe we can do that. Apparently we're a little edgier. Yeah.
Or was it Communist Idiot of the Year? Tot News said Media Hoax of the Year.
Oh, yeah.
That would be because the Covington kids or Waleed's editing of ScoMo.
Yeah. There are a few.
Oh, what is that?
Jesse Smollett.
Oh yes, Jesse Smollett as well. How come he's not nominated for an Oscar? Oh, maybe the lefties on Twitter who are expressing their sadness at Wilson Gavin's suicide. Maybe they can get an Oscar nomination as well for their newfound sympathy.
For their crocodile tears, yes, absolutely.
Senator Slayer, when will Peter Gray spilling and harassment lead to suicide? Well, I hope it doesn't, but remember that he's just an angry old man, hardly has any followers. It's just something to laugh at.
Skip the next one, just go to the last one.
Where's Maddie Rosenberg's nomination as Patriot of the Year?
Yeah, we got to get him on.
Well, it'd be a conflict of, because this is a co-production and we don't like.
You know that if Maddie would find a way, like, to just like create an algorithm and just like vote for himself.
Yeah, that's probably why we didn't nominate him.
Yeah, that's it. Cool.
Kuma of the year from DNFE. Kuma is, of course, a chronic masturbator.
Yeah.
I know who's.
Peter Grace.
Well, that is urine coming out, not something else.
Okay. On that note, I reckon we're done, Tim.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, you've got to promote, Maddie Rosenberg live Saturdays at 9 p.m. And of course, please go to the Uncuckables.com to see the archive of episodes, podcast version of the show. And I will see you tomorrow night. Keep checking the unshackled.net for all the regular latest updates. You got nothing to add?
No, thank you very much, everybody.
That's it.
Always appreciate
Thanks,
the
boys.
comments. Thanks to everybody for listening.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
The Uncuckables.